On today's show, there's been a lot of talk, but no action yet, why we're still confident that Claude Giroux will remain an Ottawa Senator.
And we continue our 2025 NHL Draft Rankings with one player we love and one not so much.
This is Braden Coots, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Levitan, and live from New York, it's Brandon Piller. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel to get started. Today is Friday, June 13th. Pilsy, Friday the 13th. Feels like a good day for a freaky contract for Claude Giroux.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to happen any day, today would be a great day. Actually, no, Ross, today would not be, because unless it happens literally within seconds, because we're recording. If it happens after we're done recording, I'll be so upset. But I actually thought, Ross, and maybe there was still a big divide. I'm hoping there isn't anymore, but I thought they were going to do the Claude Giroux contract reveal with the new jerseys at the season ticket holder event. That would have been poetic. We know the Sens of the past have loved to show out new contracts like that, most notably the Timmy contract. That was a wild one for everyone there. Was not expecting that at all. So we're getting closer and closer to July 1st, and starting to feel nervous, but I still think Claude Giroux will be an Ottawa Senator.
And more citizens are siding on that part of the ledger. So I was pulling up as I was doing that on Twitter at Sens Central. Do you think that pending UFA, Claude Giroux will be back? The answers, you can either say yes, absolutely. I did, but now I'm starting to doubt it. I'd be surprised if he's back, or no chance. Now, where would you vote on that? Are you still 100% certain, or are you in the second camp where it's I did, but starting to doubt it here as we're less than 3 weeks from free agency day?
I did, but starting to doubt. That's the answer I chose because, we kind of had hoped, Ross. Every single time we talked about this, we're like, Claude Giroux is the first one you got to get done. Get that done early, then you know what you got left, and then you can deal with it. And I was in the yes camp for a long time. Now that it's getting closer, 18 days, something like that, until July 1st, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous here.
I did, but starting to doubt it. But I'm just ever so slightly doubting it, and we're seeing live updates. We just posted this. The answer is, well, we'll get to the updated answer at the end of the show, but it's a dead tie between yes and did, but starting to doubt. Total, there's over 90% of the voters believe that they're optimistic that it's like, okay, very likely still that he signs. Only about 9% believe that they would be either surprised or don't think that Claude Giroux is coming back at all. Now, why we're talking about this, not only is it top priority for the Ottawa Senators right now, is to get Claude Giroux locked up, at least get the cost certainty of what you know you have for Fabian Zetterlund, for a fourth line center, for a backup goalie, for another defenseman who they might acquire via trade. I now, as we're talking this out, and that's what the cathartic part of doing this is, Pillsy, each and every day, they have to know what the number is going to come in at, whether it's $500,000 here or there, because I'm of the mind, I don't know if it's going to be a $2.5 million base salary or if it's going to be a $5 million base salary. I have no clue what they're going to come in at. Are you going to narrow it down like you did the Tyler Kleven deal for me?
Let me think. I think Claude Giroux's contract is going to be somewhere between 2.7 and 2.9 million for one. No, that's too low. No.
If it's a 1-year deal, which it seems like the Senators are pushing for, there has to be performance bonuses, and you can do anything for performance bonuses. I was looking up the Corey Perry contract, and we'll get to why in a second, but he gets $150K for 15 games played this year, and then if the team won the second round of the playoffs and Perry played 50% of the games, he got $50K, and they got another $50K when they won the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to do a heavy bonus contract because you can have the bonuses defer to next season. We also saw the Edmonton Oilers do that with Connor Brown, right? They gave him a very low deal with a lot of bonuses that kicked in the next season.
Yeah, you can only do it if it's an over 35 contract or if a player is coming off a season-long injury.
Oh, okay. So that's good to know those stipulations. So yeah, I was saying in the 2-point range, but no, I think it's going to be higher. I think it's going to start with a 3. I'll say between 3.1 and 3.3.
Okay, I'll go a little higher then. I'll say it's going to be 3.5 with bonuses that can make it as high as $5 million. But I would hope that there's a $500,000 bonus if they win a round of the playoffs and he plays in 50% of the games type thing.
Of the playoffs or of the regular season?
Playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, I think
the other bonuses can be regular season, like pretty easy to reach ones where it's like 10 games, 20 games, 30 games, 40 games, 50 games. You get $10K for each one, that sort of thing. But I want the King Daddy Topper bonus to be playoff success for Ottawa.
And as it should be, because really the only reason Claude Giroux should even consider or be tempted to take a hometown discount would be to propel this team farther in the playoffs. So if that happens and him taking a cut works and them using that extra salary cap to bring over more players to fill those roles we talked about, and that leads to them having success in the playoffs, he should be rewarded and get a little extra slice of the pie there. So I like that.
We're waiting for Martian to chime in, but at the same time, we have gotten some DMs from the streets that say the contract is all but done. But like you said, Claude Giroux wants to see how the Senators are going to improve because he doesn't have a Stanley Cup and he wants one. So he wants to see how Ottawa is going to get better. So keep an eye for another move by the Ottawa Senators and then bingo, bango, bongo, a Claude Giroux contract right afterwards. Go have your say on Twitter. You can leave a comment below on our YouTube as well. I'm also a little curious about Belleville at this point because you'd think that you'd at least be like, knocking a couple of these little minor league contracts up. Are you thinking the longer that it waits, like we could see half a new roster in Belleville next year with Matt Turek now taking over that role?
Yeah, I'm not surprised it's taken this long, Ross. Matt Turek has just been put in this new role, so I'm sure he's really trying to get acclimated, get a sense of what the needs are, what he needs to be doing, what he needs to be looking at, and probably doing a lot of interviews with the coaching staff, maybe even some players, trying to figure out, okay, these guys are key components or we need to move on from these guys and fulfill their roles some other way. And I think with signing guys like that, you kind of want to wait till free agency to see what the landscape is. And then you can start picking off your contracts here or there, or maybe even be more patient, and some veteran guys that don't get the opportunities they want, you can try to convince them that this is an opportunity that could make sense for them. So I think with the new GM of the Belleville Senators, it's fair that it's taken some time to get some deals done.
And we've got the full list of Senators free agents pulled up on YouTube, where we appreciate a subscription, a comment. The engagement's been fantastic through the offseason. We were curious after the enormous success that the playoffs were, how things would go. But we really appreciate all the everydayers, the citizens, making us your first listen each and every day. Let's get to the comment section right now, Pillsy. It leads us perfectly in to today's NHL Draft Rankings, where we're into the teens now, and all of these individual player profiles will be posted on YouTube. Terry McGurran, great citizen, says, so Brandon gave Kindle 5 stars, and then Spence and Reshny both got 4.5. Does that mean if all three are on the board at 21, then Kindle would be the first pick that you would have there? And follow up, who would you rather have between Malcolm Spence and Cole Reshny?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that one up. Thanks, Terry, for writing in. I was actually going to respond to him on YouTube, so it's good we can do it here. I did the 4.5 for... Wait, was it Cootes or Reshny?
Well, no spoilers. Cootes is coming up in today's show.
Okay, so it wasn't Cootes. So Reshny and Spence, I gave 4.5 stars. the half star I took off there is because I don't think they will be there, right? Like part of my Sens stars that I have in there is realistically, does it make sense for the Sens to take them? Now, if they're there, I'm probably bumping those guys up to 5 stars, but I took that half star off only because it's probably not that realistic that they get them. I think they'll be gone before that. But to answer the follow-up question, I still think I would take a hard look at taking Kindle over those guys. It's tough. I would be happy with any of those 3 guys. Let me start with that. But I really like Ben Kindle, so I think I actually would take him over those guys.
I don't know, man. Cole Rashney to me is the class of those 3. I just think he has the highest upside with the higher floor than maybe Ben Kindle does. But I would put Ben Kindle ahead of Malcolm Spence, which is a great tease because on draft week, we take all of what we've learned over the course of the last month and a half. And Pilsy and I, we've done this the last couple of years. We've got our lists at the last minute before the draft. And we'll also include our top ideals for the Ottawa Senators. Pilsy, last one here, because we had a ridiculous conversation about Isaiah Mustafa, who hosted that NHL award show that I didn't watch last night. And turns out he's the Old Spice guy. Remember from those Old Spice commercials?
Okay. Yeah. I know that guy. Yeah. He's like talking about being a horse.
Yes.
There's all these crazy things happening. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just had to take the stench off of that conversation because I feel like we were pretty negative overall about the NHL award.
So. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say we were negative about him. We just said we didn't know him. We weren't being rude towards him.
No.
The award show, yes. We did not have glowing reviews.
You see that kid who had Nick Suzuki first for Hart?
Like that grinds my gears.
That just proved my point so well. It validated everything I said on yesterday's show.
Yeah, I mean, if you had Nick Suzuki on your ballot, okay. He's a good player, good season, very important to the Montreal Canadiens.
Huge second half. He was unreal.
Yep. Respect to Nick Suzuki's game. But first,
the best player in the NHL, most valuable player in the National Hockey League last year.
Yeah,
not the goalie that won a President's Trophy for a team whose second line center all year was Vladislav Nemesnikov. With all due respect, #Sens Abroad.
Yep.
Give me a break.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
What I would say is that if you have a vote and you're listening to this right now, keep your big brain vote for your 4th and 5th place votes.
Yeah.
But please open your don't be smart for your top 3. That's all I'm saying. Like
the top 1, like that
the
is
guy,
just insane.
Seth Rohrabaugh, I'm calling him out again. This guy can't get enough of his votes. He cost McDavid his unanimous MVP. One voter out of 300 did not have McDavid as league MVP 2 years ago or 3, whatever it was.
Has he released his?
No, he never does. He hides in the shadows until August when they come out, and then everyone goes and looks. And I think one year he had Luke Glendening for the Selke, and he was dashed 35 with 4 points or something. I was like, all right, dude. Anyway, some guys, they're just smarter than us, and they know hockey, and we don't.
Yeah. And speaking on the trophies, just quickly, a couple Sens nominations for the Lady Byng. Jake Sanderson finished 10th in Lady Byng voting again. So there we go. He's a gentleman and a great defenseman on the rise.
Yes. Nick Jensen got votes for that as well. So too did Claude Giroux a little bit further down. But who's the next wave of talent in the National Hockey League? Let's get to our NHL Draft Rankings. We recorded these right before Pilsy went down for his anniversary trip. So Pilsy back in his home studio after this. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The playoffs are in full swing, and as you saw last night, momentum swings are everywhere. Can't miss moments, whether it's a game-winning goal in overtime or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action, and that's where FanDuel comes in. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before the puck drops and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. When I see the Oilers go down 3-0, I'm like, okay, the odds are great. Let's do it. And last night it paid off. And for new customers, they've got a great offer for you over at FanDuel. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, a reminder that the Locked On Senators full first-round mock draft featuring a number of special guests will be available this Sunday. 10 a.m. Eastern will be the premiere time, and then it will live forever on YouTube, so you can go check it out and learn the insight from all these great experts on all the players they believe will be drafted in the first round. One of whom, no spoilers, will be number 18 on our Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings from the University of Wisconsin defenseman Logan Hensler.
Yep, Logan Hensler in his first year in the NCAA. 32 games, 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points, finished a -13. Also was a part of Team USA's World Juniors team. He played all 7 games there, only the 1 assist, but I think for Logan Hensler, you can't get too distracted looking at the points. Obviously, 12 points, 32 games, -13 doesn't pop out. It certainly is not usually the stat line of guys in this range, but I think you got to take it with a grain of salt. A young player, defenseman, playing in his first year in the NCAA, that's a challenging thing to do. And if you're a team that's looking for a right shot defenseman with size, Logan Hensler certainly fits that bill.
And he's also the type of player that you could easily project as a safer partner to an offensive defenseman. So when you think about Logan Hensler, you might just be like, okay, was he in over his head playing at that level, even though he is an October birthday, so he's 18 for the entirety of the NCAA season. But clearly, there's a lot of upside in terms of being an NHL player. Bob McKenzie, even at his midterms, had him at 11 on his list. That's a little high compared to everybody else. Locked On NHL Prospects had him at 16. Elite Prospects at 17. Scott Wheeler at 20. And then a bit of a drop-off. McKean's at 25. Button at 26. And Corey Pronman down at 28th overall. So quite the range for Logan Hensler. I feel like since we've gotten up past, 23, 22, it's been a much more tight range of where guys have them. Hensler seems to be the odd man out where he could be pretty volatile on draft day.
Yeah, I think it depends on teams' needs. If you need a defenseman, if you need a right shot defenseman, certainly Radim Murka will be taken ahead of him, but Hensler very well could be the second right shot defenseman off the board. He's a guy that really improved as the season went on, Ross. EP mentions that he played big minutes for a poor Badgers team. They call him a highly mobile two-way transition D-man. But Wheeler kind of talks about how he isn't an offensive guy or a shutdown guy and can seem unsure of his game. I mean, that goes with the two-way label. But I don't know. There's not really much offense here at all. And you have to understand he was a freshman defenseman. But any of the points he did get that I saw on highlights were secondary assists, or his shot was being blocked, deflected, or banged in on a rebound. He played power play time for the Badgers. For me, I'm not that excited about Logan Hensler. And maybe it's one of those things where he doesn't pop off on the highlight reel, so you got to spend more time than I do watching shift by shift tape of him. But if I'm picking 15 to 25 range, there's a handful of guys that I'm much more interested in.
I wish I liked him more so I could battle you on him, Pillsy. But to me, when you're at this stage in the draft, you have to be banking on high upside, or at least the certainty of a guy who you know can be a top contributor. And I don't see it with Logan Hensler, and I could be completely wrong. Maybe we're going to look like idiots, but I'm not excited about him. Maybe it'd be different if he was at the U.S. program this year, or if he was in the USHL playing against lesser competition. I can appreciate that he got more comfortable as the year went on, But this is one of those picks that when that draft pick comes in before Ottawa, I'm like, nice. One more pick without a guy who I really want off the board. So, yeah, nothing against Hensler. It's more just the position that he plays and the fact that there's just not a lot of dynamic ability, it seems, with what he brings at this moment in time.
Yeah, like I just don't know where to project him because I don't see him really as a two-way guy because I don't see any offense. But for me, he's not a elite shutdown guy. And again, I might be wrong on that. It's hard to get an idea of those guys if you're not watching a lot of tape on them. If the Ottawa Senators have to choose between him and Blake Fiddler, I mean, that's easy for me. I'm taking Fiddler. Or if neither of those guys are available, you can pivot to taking a forward. Or if Fiddler's gone and Hensler's there, I still would pivot to taking a forward. For me, I see him as a third pair guy. And in this range and for what the Senators need and the guys around him, I'd like to take a bigger swing. This seems, Ross, like a bit of a bunt. If we're talking about home run swings, this is a bit of a bunt, being like, he's got size, he's right shot defenseman, he can skate, he should pan out to be a third pair guy. We don't need to be doing that for the Ottawa Senators.
So how many Sens stars then for you?
2.5. I don't want it to come across like I hate the guy. I don't see the potential that other people are seeing, and certainly not in this range. I would be disappointed if the Ottawa Senators went this route.
Yes, so would I. So I feel like this one's a pretty simple one for us. Hey, if your team just drafted him, look, you got a guy who could develop into a player that you can pair with, let's say it's Columbus and Denton Mateychuk, or you got a young kind of more of a riverboat gambler on the other side. This guy can skate great in transition and move the puck and get it into either your forwards or his defensive partner's hands. But he just needs, I think, a bit more of an identity at this stage for him to really be that highly considered here on Locked On Senators. So for that reason, with an average of 20.43, Logan Hensler comes in at number 18 on our Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings. All right, on the other side, we will get to a prospect we're both a lot more excited about. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. Well, how can you find great candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page. It helps you reach the right candidates faster. Have you ever been in that spot where you need the right hire like yesterday? The pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure that your post is seen by the right candidates right now. So you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit just by going to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Senators podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. All right. And once again, we will remind you, there will be bonus content this weekend, not only on Saturday, where we do a dump of all the profiles that we put out this week on the show, but then on Sunday, the mock draft is finally here. Coming in at number 17 on our Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings, first of two prospects remaining from the Seattle Thunderbirds, it's Braden Coots.
Whew, this is an exciting player, Ross. I love watching highlights of Braden Coots. He was the captain of the Seattle Thunderbirds this season in 60 games, 26 goals, 37 assists, good for 63 points, above point per game, finished a +5. Playoffs, kept it rolling too. 6 games, 8 points. And then, Ross, most impressively, again, captain of Team Canada U18s in 7 games, putting up 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points in 7 games. This guy's got a lot of talent, and he displayed that talent on a weaker Seattle team. That's definitely fair to say. They were the only team to make the WHL playoffs with a record less than 500. He finished with 63 points, led the Thunderbirds in points. Next highest points was 60. Those are low point totals to be leading WHL playoff teams. But don't take it away from his ability. There's so much to like when it comes to Braden Coots.
The way he creates on the ice is special. Corey Pronman, the highest on him, 14th overall. McKean's at 17. Elite Prospects at 16. And then we've got Locked On NHL Prospects at 18. Craig Button at 18. Bob McKenzie's midterms was 22. Scott Wheeler at 23. Braden Coots is 6 feet tall, 186 pounds, was born in February. He is a right shot centerman that I believe will be a centerman at the NHL level. If you think he's more of a winger, sure. But I am all in on him being a middle six centerman that can play a more up-tempo offensive style of game, but can forecheck like a third liner. He is relentless in creating loose pucks off the forecheck. And I just think that his tenacity, his compete level, as well as having the skill that he does, I think he's going to be a steal if he gets to even close to where we have him at 17.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't think he's going to get past probably even 15. So it's highly unlikely he's going to be there for the Sens at 21. EP calls him a one-man forecheck, which you kind of touched on. The elite forechecking is huge. He's got a really good defensive game as well. EP referred to him as primarily a playmaker, but don't get it twisted. This guy's got a wicked shot and can score from range as well. He's got confidence to deke right through defenders. Wheeler calls him a strong skater that plays with energy and detail. He kills penalties. He can be a lethal goal scorer on the power play. Like, what more do you want from this guy? I don't know.
I don't think there's a whole lot you can ask for more than that. The industry chatter section on EP, one NHL scout kind of summed it up perfectly. His skills elite. He's a strong skater. He wears the C, and he brings it every game. He just makes the game harder than it needs to be, though. He's probably going to be a checker despite his size just because he doesn't have much feel for the game. Interesting second half there. Another NHL scout saying that every time you watch him, he looks nasty in a good way. Motor, sense, skill. Could be a mid to late first-round pick. High drive, Swiss Army knife, plays fast and plays in any situation. So I like that the write-up for him says that he's got high probability, which scouts love, the certainty of being a third-line defensively responsible forward. Yep. But then he also has the upside that if he develops properly, you're looking at a top 6 centerman with dynamic ability as an offensive player. So to me, you're getting a bit of the best of both worlds with Braden Coots. And I think that, yeah, if I'm drafting, we haven't done the top 16 yet, but if I'm drafting at 12, 13, 14, he's a guy who I'd be really taking a hard look at to think this guy could really help us and probably take up a middle 6 center role for years to come.
Yeah, I view him more as a third line center on a good team, Ross, but I think he's got the upside and potential to be a middle 6 guy. Like, I imagine if this guy is available in the teams, anywhere in the teams, and your team's war room, the scouting room, I think I'd be sitting there and being like, okay, who has any reason why we shouldn't draft Braden Coots? Like, let's move this conversation along. We all know he's got so many different talents and skills, leadership qualities, puts up points, is a hard forechecker, good defender, all those things. So what reason can anyone give me not to draft Braden Coots? And I don't think a lot of people would be banging the table when it comes to that question.
Well, because he's 5'11.25. We rounded him up to 6 feet, but under 6 feet, you're swiping left sometimes.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. But I think some teams really prioritize height, but there are other important aspects to prospects and developing rather than just how tall you are when you're 17 years old.
Do you think that Pittsburgh could be interested in him at 11? Like, I know that's a little high, but
that's probably a little high, but I don't think it's that crazy.
Well, if you like Shane Pinto, I know he's a bit taller, and Trent Mann certainly did. Trent Mann's running the table for the Penguins. I don't know. I wouldn't hate Braden Coots.
Yep, I see that, Ross. I wouldn't hate Braden Coots either. I've got him at 4.5 stars as well. The size would be the one thing. You nailed it there, Ross. But it's not like he's not like your 5'7" Cameron Schmitz, where it's like, okay, size is legit a thing here. Like I think he's gonna be fine. And keep in mind, he played on a weaker Seattle Thunderbirds team. We saw what he could do when he played up with more elite talent in the U18s on Team Canada. So get this guy in a system where you've got some elite players for him to play with. I think you can have the makings of a really good player here. I would be stoked. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would be stoked if he gets to 21 and the Ottawa Senators had a chance to draft him.
Bring Braden Coots to Ottawa, please.
I'm down.
Braden Coots coming in with an average ranking of 18.29, good for 17th on our Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings. You can find each of our 50 prospect profiles available on YouTube. All right, Pillsy, a reminder that our full first-round mock draft will be premiering on YouTube this Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Happy Father's Day to all you old men out there. We appreciate you guys for everything you do. So crack a cold one, put your feet up, have the U.S. Open final round on the TV, mute that thing, and then on your second screen, get the Locked On Senators full first-round mock draft. And I think we can announce this the last time we'll be talking to everybody before the mock draft comes out. So why don't we unveil who our experts are that are going to be joining us to make the picks?
Let's do it. I love it. How do you want to do this? Just in order? Do you want me to do all of them? What's the play?
Yeah, why don't you kick us off with who's going to lead us off? Because I think that's exciting that we got a guy who was at the NHL scouting combine while we were chatting with him.
We got our guy. We put out the tweet, Ross. Which prospect analysts do you guys like the most? And I would say most of the answers, or at least the most common answer, was Cam Robinson from EP, and he is leading this thing off. He's got the first 4 picks. Then, of course, we've got our guy Scott Wheeler over at The Athletic, one of the most knowledgeable guys, and he puts so much work into the NHL draft. He's doing picks 5 through 8. And we have Rachel Dory, friend of the show from ESPN. She's doing picks 9 through 12. Ross, you want to read out the remainder?
Yeah, Stephen Ellis, who it's his first experience having Stephen Ellis on the show. He's from Daily Faceoff. He's phenomenal. We really enjoyed our conversation with him. So he will be joining us for picks 13 through 16. Then 17 through 21, it's Jerome Berube from hockeyprospect.com. Darren Boyce, friend of the show, and he is a Ottawa Senators fan as well as a prospect junkie. You can find him at the Puck Bunker on YouTube. So we had him on right after the Ottawa pick to break down where he would go in that situation and make a few picks himself. Then Brock Otten from McKean's Hockey, and it will be wrapped up by our colleague here at Locked On NHL Prospects. He also works as a USHL scout for Elite Prospects. It's Sebastian High. So we're very high on this group of experts. I think they're going to do a fantastic job providing insight and expert analysis as we lead in to one of our favorite times of the year, honestly, the NHL draft. So really excited to unveil this. We've worked pretty hard on it, I would say. And it's a labor of love. So hope you guys enjoy that. We also hope we get a little Sens news. My final thought here as we go into the weekend, I'll pull back up, and even more of the percentage of votes here are leaning towards yes. Never in doubt, Claude Giroux will be back. 47% are saying that. 43% were in that category, but now starting to doubt it. Only 6% would be surprised if Claude Giroux is back, and 3.5% say no chance at all. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is I missed last night's Stanley Cup Finals game, but I caught up on the highlights and followed along on Twitter. Oh my God, we are blessed with some of the best hockey we've seen in a while. I'm actually coming around to the fact that it's a rematch of the Cup Finals because these two teams are bringing it, and the back and forth game was awesome. The Panthers tying it up with 19 seconds left. But honestly, Ross, my favorite goal, how about rock star Jake Wallman with his stick up in the rafters, ready for that clap bomb and just blast it in. that was a lot of fun to watch. I'm kind of surprised he didn't do the gritty after that one.
Looking like an old Travis Hamonic with his stick up like that, eh?
Well, he hit the net on that one, so not
True.
quite Travis Hamonic.
True. This hockey's incredible. Say what you want about the length of time it's taken to get to the Stanley Cup final and how many days off you have in between games, but I'm almost on board with it now because it's allowed these teams that were so beat up through 3 rounds to get a second win, and the quality of hockey that we're watching is incredible. I locked in for the second and third period and overtime in last night, like 3 out of 4 games going to overtime, and it's just been as intense as can be. So really excited to see how this one unfolds as the series shifts back as a best 2 out of 3 starting in Edmonton tomorrow night. It's going to be unreal, but it's also kind of a tease for what's to come with all the transactions that will happen this offseason. We'll be with you every step of the way right here on Locked On Senators. For today, we say goodbye. Have a great weekend. We'll be posting our prospect profiles tomorrow and then the mock draft on Sunday. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.